Gems. Hello, hello. Doing a little bit of a mic test before I start because I have my new mic here. Wanting to make sure it's working. And I don't see anyone yet. Anyway, wanting to make sure I'm live before I start talking. Okay, there we go. There's a thumbs up. Okay, Welsh girl Kathy. Hello, hello. Okay. I can't believe we're here again. This is for those new to my lunch lives. This is the third trial when it comes to this case, the second of Vallow Daybell. I'm certainly feeling some deja vu. But new city, Phoenix, Arizona, new prosecutor, Trina Kay, new courtroom in Maricopa County, new judge, Judge Boreski, and justice for Charles Vallow. He was the first person killed in this murderous spree, and will be one of the last, hopefully, to get justice. So may justice be served. Brandon Boudreaux also has his trial shortly after Charles's, and right after, actually. And Brandon Boudreaux and his wife were back in the courtroom after they said that he didn't necessarily need to be a witness unless Lori could find relevancy. Why Lori wanted Brandon Boudreaux to not be in the courtroom and to be a witness is because of texts with her husband leading up to Charles's murder. And she said, or alleged murder, I guess. But she said, when the judge said, why, what's the relevancy of those texts? She said, just things. And that started us at a very long sidebar before we even got started with opening statements, which many of you wondered what was going on. That was going on. Additionally, there's already a problem with one of the jurors, juror number 3, and that was also discussed before. With his work schedule, he was having issues, and we concluded at the end of before lunch, not in front of a live stream. Juror number 3 was brought back in, and they discussed his concerns, financial concerns, asked why this wasn't brought up, him not realizing the weight and gravity of this trial, and not realizing that it wouldn't be okay with his work, on and on. He has now been excused. So this is why you have alternate jurors, for this reason, but now we are down to 3 alternate jurors. So it's a little concerning that on day 1, we're already losing a juror. So I'm gonna take you through a lot of what happened. Oh my gosh, Marissa, you have no idea what I need right now. I'm feeling it. We got to the courthouse very, very early, and very early. And I am tired, and you can probably tell during this lunch live, but we're gonna see this through. And there's, by the way, Brandon and his wife are walking past me right now with some water. I've heard that Kay and all of the family can be in a room right now. And I'm sure that's where he's headed right now with water. He has, oh look, there he is. See, that's Brandon right there, walking in to the courthouse with water. So I've got a lot to take you through that you could not see happening. We were able to see opening statements, and we're gonna have a full recap of opening statements later tonight as well. I thought Trina Kay, the prosecutor, did a great job, but I'm gonna take you through sort of like what you guys couldn't see. So right before court, of course, Brandon Boudreaux comes in, he leaves, he comes back in, he is allowed in, and he has been struck as a witness, like, unless Lori can find relevancy after a long sidebar. She just said it's stuff, she wants him to be a witness. She wants him to be a witness. So Lori comes in, admittedly, she looked really put together in her street clothes. You never know, she was wearing that rack belt, and actually sort of describes what Colby described yesterday in his live, this poisonous frog, this poisonous dart frog. I think it was the dart frog that Colby was mentioning, because she doesn't look what you think. She's colorful and pretty and plays a role really well, and yet is poisonous. This comes from Colby, his analogy last night on our YouTube live, and which I recommend everybody watching. If you haven't watched Colby's live that we did last night with him, I would recommend you watch. He brought such insight to his mother, to this trial, to who she is, to what it was like growing up with her, and what he's realized since he has lost his entire family. His entire family's been annihilated, essentially. So, you know, she comes in looking like the poisonous dart frog she is. And again, the people that are here, you have 3 of Charles's siblings in the front row. You have Jerry Vallow is here, Kay Woodcock is here, and I believe it's Susan. You know what? I get a couple of the sisters mixed up, forgive me, but I believe it's Susan that's also here. And in addition to that, you have Brandon, and then Megan Connor was with Kay, and then they have a victim's advocate with them named Laura as well. And they all walked in, and I am wondering if Kay will be a witness today, because typically when you are a victim and a witness, usually they want you to testify first before you sit in there, but Kay is in there listening to opening statements, so maybe it's okay here. Maybe that's just Idaho, and here it's okay. So Lori comes in, she has issues already with Brandon Boudreau, wants him as a witness for no apparent reason, massive sidebar. Opening statements finally start. Oh, and then, you know, we have the issue with the juror. Opening statements start, and then Trina Kay did an excellent job. And what you guys couldn't see, though, was Lori during the opening statements, because Lori did complain. She did not want the camera on her when other people are speaking. And the judge agreed to that. The judge said, yeah, whoever's speaking, that's where the camera's going to be. Well, Trina tells what happened. She starts with the story of Nephi, pretty much, and texts actually between Alex and Lori on June 9th, 2019. Phoenix, I'm allergic to you. 2019, and they explain the story of Nephi and Laban, and what that means according to the Book of Mormon prophecy, which is that Nephi, who is a prophet, kills a man and in the name of righteousness. So they're explaining how she used this Book of Mormon story to justify what's going to happen, and they set the stage with those texts between Alex and Lori on June 9th, 2019. Then they bring in Adam Cox, and how Adam Cox was talking in close to Charles, and how they were talking and they were planning an intervention, and he had just flown out, and everything sets the stage for what's about to come. They explain her affair with Chad Daybell that started in 2018. And during this time, the Lori Vallow that I'm seeing is shaking her head when she's getting really upset. She did okay at first. She did okay at first. I'm going to turn this way too so nobody thinks I'm filming anyone walking in. I just realized that. Not the greatest lighting, but okay. Maybe this way. There we go. There we go. Gives people going in and out of the courtroom privacy, and I can see everyone. I have a fly that is not leaving me alone. It's like, likes me. I don't know why. So the stage is set, the murder happens. They explain what we already know, which is that CPR hadn't been performed, that one of the bullets went into the floor, which means he was down after he had been shot through the heart. He was on the ground and someone shot him standing over him. And that the 911 call wasn't made for nearly 45 minutes, that Lori was there when her husband, Charles Vallow, was shot, and decided to then leave and go buy flip-flops at Walgreens and then head to Burger King to feed JJ breakfast and Tylee, and that she and Tylee come back and she jokes about the neighbors You know, we've seen a lot of this already. If you've been following this case, we know this. But they bring up some new things that we don't hear as much about, which is this idea that Alex was hit with a bat, which is we've always known as a BS story, because Charles was a collegiate baseball player. He wasn't hit with a baseball bat. In fact, our justice for Charles emoji is a baseball, because he was such a excellent player and he loved the game. So he was a left-handed player, and they pointed out that the baseball bat was staged because it was in his right hand, and that this alleged little cut that Alex had on his head that he was rubbing and trying to take care of, oh, he still had his sunglasses on. Like he was like tending to a cut, which, let's be honest, too, a baseball bat, being hit in the head with a baseball bat by a baseball player doesn't cause a cut. Best case scenario, it causes a goose egg that's massive. That might start bleeding, but it would be a goose egg. Worst case scenario, you're dead. But it doesn't cause a gash in the back of your head with nothing else. And you can see close-ups of the gash. In fact, I'll share them tonight during our recap live tonight. So they bring that up, and they bring out that clearly this is staged. Alex didn't think about it and didn't realize that his brother-in-law that he just murdered, well, he was left-handed and he put the bat in the right hand. Clearly, Charles, clearly it was staged. And again, they learned that CPR hadn't been performed. Many, many heartbreaking things to hear about this murder and how unsuspecting Charles was. Oh my goodness, Spring 20, thank you so much. I'm trying to heart, just so you guys know, sometimes, okay, Spring, I saw that, I tried to heart it, and now it's gone. Now it's gone, but thank you so much. Thank you, I did see it. And the other things they brought up again are the religious beliefs. I loved this moment. I loved it when she said zombies or Z's, because if you guys remember on Colby Ryan's interview with his mother, Lori claims she's never talked about zombies before, but she did talk about Z's. We know that. So Trina K is setting the stage saying Z's were talked about with this group, zombies or Z's. Then she brings up Serena Sharp and Christina Atwood, two friends of Lori Vallow Daybell. They use both names. That Lori confided in that Charles was possessed by a zombie or Z named Ned, and they did castings together, which is again proof that Lori knew what a Z was, or someone being possessed as an evil spirit. So this was a moment. So again, there was a lot of head shaking during the opening statement by Trina K. She was just doing a lot of head shaking. And then when she would get really angry, she would jot down notes. And it was feisty, guys. Like, she'd be like this, and she'd just be like scribbling, like you knew she was angry. You could hear her jotting down the notes. So upset. You go like, oh, she is ticked off. Well, during a moment where, and we've reported this on our channel too, when we actually do a deep dive about whether or not Munchausen by proxy, Lori had Munchausen by proxy, which meant that she was purposely making Tylee sick. I believe it. I believe it. We bring up this moment where Serena Sharp talks about how she would drug Charles with Xanax in his protein shakes. It's super shocking. And that was brought up in opening statements. That really hasn't been a thing. People wonder, how is the evidence here going to differ than in Idaho? And we're seeing it right now. We're seeing how it's different. This is relevant now. This is relevant. Christina Atwood, who's going to be a witness and has not been a witness before. Serena Sharp, who has never been a witness but will be a witness now. They will testify to things that Lori told them about Charles being a zombie or a Z or possessed by an evil spirit named Ned. And they're also going to testify that Lori drugged Charles and poisoned him, which I have now heard that she has done to quite a few different people, whatever that means. So that was an interesting moment. And when Serena said, when Trina K, prosecutor Trina K, stated You'll hear from Serena how Charles was drugged by Lori. She was very, very angry. And she shook her head and she was very upset and she started jotting stuff down. Annette, thank you. Thank you so much. And then another part that got her furious, and again, there were multiple times where I highlighted. In fact, I'll try to get my notebook. It's right down here, and just like flip through, because I tried to make a note every time she was really furious and what was said right before. So we'll go look at that before I sign off here, just to make sure I got them all. But another thing that made her furious was when they talked about Nancy Jo Hancock, which was a date that Charles went on. He had met her on LDS Singles, was very forthright and honest with her. He was married, he had a wife, that he was taking his son to school the next morning. This was the night before the murder on July 10th, 2019. And when they state that Nancy was told that he had changed his life insurance to the beneficiary of his life insurance policy, and that he told this to Nancy Jo, but that Charles allegedly told Nancy that Lori didn't know who the beneficiary was. Lori got very upset during that moment too. Very upset. She got upset when murder was used. Whenever the words murder, this murder of Charles, she got very upset. Oh, that was a moment when they said this was a staged murder after explaining the baseball bat, excuse me. I'm messing up my weapons here. There's only one weapon, the gun. The baseball bat was a staged thing that made this a staged murder. Also very upset at that moment. So let's go over and actually look at my notes and see what else I have written down. But overall, furious notes. So Lori's MO, we're already learning it. When she's angry and furious, she starts taking rapid notes. There were only 2 jurors that I noticed the whole time taking notes. Most of them were just listening intently to Lori. There was one juror that looked a little sleepy. I don't know, court starting at 10:30 is pretty good, and a couple of them weren't on time today. So, but they're listening. 2 of them are taking notes. Lori's taking more notes than any of the jurors. And again, not too happy. Let's see, let me see what I missed here. And then after courts adjourned for lunch, just so you know what I do, I continue to sit upstairs because we were watching opening statements with you guys. There's always a half-hour delay. That's going to be throughout the entire trial. That is mandated by the court. There is a half-hour delay in the live stream mandated by the court because they want to protect evidence or addresses or email addresses or anything that goes awry. And so, again, we will always start at the time court starts, and then you have to wait a half hour. I will try to be in chat when I can, but I'm also busy being the eyes and ears in the courtroom for you guys, because I think it's going to be very clear that unless Lori is talking, the camera is not going to be on her. So I will be the eyes and ears of the courtroom, letting you know what the jurors are doing and thinking, what Lori is doing and thinking when the camera isn't on her, what other people are doing and thinking. So just know that there's going to be that 30-minute delay. I will sometimes be in the chat. I'll definitely be before court starts and after. And right after my lunch live, I'll go back upstairs and jump right back in chat with y'all. But then I kind of have to stop so I can look up and see everything going on. Diet Coke addict, thank you so much. You guys know me so well. There's going to be some early mornings this week. Let me tell you what else made her upset. Oh yeah, here I wrote Lori is, and I wrote Lori is, and the P word. So that was, oh yeah, after Xanax put in food. Christina Atwood referred to Xanax put in food too. And then she got really upset. Oh, Lori was wide-eyed and took a lot of note-taking after Trina K said no exact plans until July 9th. And then Charles planned an interrogation, or she didn't use the word interrogation. I used that word. Charles planned, not interrogation, a intervention with Lori. And she didn't use that word, that's the word I'm using, but when this sort of intervention with Lori was being planned, Adam flew out, Charles flew Adam out. At that moment, Lori was really wide-eyed and started taking a lot of notes. Another part where she got really upset was when, oh, yeah. So when they said that the Alex Cox waited for like 56 minutes before calling 911, and I think that should say 46, but I wrote 56. That's why I slowed down on that. However long it was for Alex to have called 911, Lori did a major look, like, just, are you kidding me? She was not happy about that. Lori knew, and then right after that, prosecutor Trina Kay says Lori knew when the murder was going to happen. She started vigorously shaking her head. Not true at that moment. They said Charles showed up. He was always punctual, so he showed up on time, and they're going to have data that's mapped out to show the jurors throughout the trial. They're discussing this. During all of this, a lot of head shakes by Lori. And then, where else? 47 minutes. Yeah, so the call didn't happen until 47 minutes after Lori left the scene. Again, Lori shaking her head, really upset. I'm like, okay, well, how are you going to say that isn't true? Because that's just like proven with cell pings and call logs and data, right? But she seemed very upset that by the idea that nobody called for 47 minutes after she left. Oh, and then when they explained that Charles was shot in the heart and that he laid on the floor when Alex fired the second shot, Lori shakes her head. It's so despicable. Like, you can't make this stuff up. Like, the bullet went through the ground. Someone shot him while he was on the ground. Like, that's not made up, that's factual, that's evidence, and she's sitting there shaking her head to it. And then another part, head shakes, look up at ceiling. Oh, Lori is angry. Yeah, so the $1 million life insurance policy probably made her the angriest. I have a lot underlined here, where it just says, $1 million life insurance policy. When they talk about that, Lauren, and after Lori texted Charles's son and explained that your dad is dead, she got upset about that. And then they explained the $1 million life insurance that she didn't know she didn't have. She is shaking her head. She's very angry about the life insurance. And then she sends text to Chad after learning that she didn't get the life insurance, and then confronted Kay about this. That is true. Kay has spoken about texts she received from Lori being confronted with the life insurance. So after that, lunch break, here we are. I'm gonna go head back in actually and try to grab some lunch myself. But so after lunch is going to be Lori Vallow Daybell herself giving her opening statement. And let me tell you why this is a very, very big deal. This moment is a massive deal for this trial. And it is this fact. We don't know if Lori Vallow Daybell is going to testify. We don't. And she might not, because she didn't in her first trial. And the questions she asked the potential jurors were, will you be okay if the state doesn't meet their burden of the proof, and if the state can't prove that, you know, I committed murder, will you be okay if you don't hear my side of the story? And if I don't, pretty much she's saying, if I don't testify. And the jurors said, yes, we would be. And you'll have to remember too, in her last trial, she also, I certainly think she was calling a lot of the shots. They couldn't throw Chad under the bus and blame Chad for the whole thing. That was Lori. She did not even call any defense witnesses. I think her tactic is let the state prove their case, and if they don't, then I'll be innocent. So I don't know if she's going to testify. Another thing they said, that if she testifies, she can't do a narration testimony. She has to do questions and answers. So she has to write her questions down that she wants someone to ask her. And then, of course, she'll be cross-examined. So what's the easiest way to tell your side if you're not going to testify? That would be opening and closing statements. So I think it's very likely we never hear a testimony from Lori Vallow Daybell, but we will hear what she has to say about this family tragedy back in the courtroom this afternoon. And I'm going to go head back in because it's getting late. That's the latest. That's what's going on. I'm so appreciative of your support. We're going to be here together this whole trial. So thank you, everyone. For the trial emojis, thank you to those who are gifting memberships too. It means a lot because not everyone has the ability to have a membership right now. I realize that. I'm also gifting them. Thank you so, so much for the coffee fund. But it helps everyone to be a member and to participate in the trial emojis. And that is a great support right now to our channel. So that make sure your membership gifting is turned on. People say, how do you do that? I don't know. But there's something you can click on YouTube. So if your membership gifting is on, you can be gifted a membership if someone gets one. And we have trial emojis, and we're going to be interchanging them throughout the trial. We'll be here. A big thank you to Troublemaker Baker, who's doing a lot of it. And I saw the pizza fund, thank you guys, and a lot of help is behind the scenes. Thank you to our incredible moderators. This is going to be, this is a huge trial. So thank you, everyone. Thank you. I love this community. Like I said, I'm going to head back in there. Thanks for everything. And I will continue to be your eyes and ears in there. And then we will do a recap tonight. Hit notifications too, because we don't have a set time. Thank you, Lisa, that we go live in the evenings. We might later, but right now we're getting the hang of everything. And we're trying to process how long it's going to take to get things in a row, to feel prepared for the best recap. So hit notifications. Right now we're winging it as far as when our nightly recaps are going to be, but hopefully maybe we'll have a better system soon. Thank you for the coffee. Thank you for the caffeine. Thank you for the food. Thank you for the gifted memberships. We're all in this together, and we have been since 2020. So thank you. Pretty Lies and Alibis is here. Gigi's here. Megan Connor is here. Go give Megan Connor some support. Tom Evans is here. He was a juror in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial. He has a new book about Chad Daybell. I'll share a link later. Some incredible people are here. It's a bit of a reunion. But yeah, may justice be served for Charles Vallow. He sounded the alarm. And if he had been listened to, I always say that, if he had been listened to, lives could have been saved. And we're here for him. And just as Kay Woodcock always says, Charles would have said, take care of the children and Tammy first. Worry about me later. That's what we've done. And now it's time for justice for Charles. Thank you guys. We'll see you. Bye-bye.